Hello, hello. Okay, so I just this morning kicked off my new program, the Reclaim and Rise Reset, which is the first 2 week portion of my new mastermind, Reclaim and Rise. And it was so good, so amazing, and just really exciting. But even before our first session, we had been talking in the group chat that I created over there, uh, a little bit about the idea, or a little bit about human design, about religion. I don't even remember where it had started, but it's irrelevant. Sorry, I'm like right next to the lamp, so I'm gonna move up my glasses there so you stop seeing the reflection. Okay, let's just get rid of those. But anyway, so we were talking about this, and in the container, there's varying levels of, or varying people from different backgrounds, different. There's even people from different countries in there, uh, different belief systems, right, and different upbringings. But yet, every single person in there has had to, some of them grew up in really religious households. Some of them grew up in households that weren't super religious, but where they did believe in God. And then, there's some people, not necessarily in this container, but, there are still people out there too that don't know what they believe. And I think for myself, I wanted to talk about this a little bit, and it's actually something that's been on my mind to talk about for a while, but for whatever reason, I've kind of avoided it. Um, for myself, I've always known that there's a higher power. Like I've never questioned that. I've never doubted that. But for me, I never really jived with traditional religion. And I would say I grew up in a medium level religious household. I was baptized. I went to Sunday school. We went to church on the weekends. I did confirmation classes. I was Lutheran. Um, and I went to church pretty much all the time until I was confirmed. And then once I was confirmed, it wasn't quite as frequent by my own choosing. And as I've gotten older and older, I've gone to a physical church less and less. And again, not because I don't believe in a higher power, I don't believe in God, because I do, and I've gone through my own journey with what is it, who is it that I believe in, and why. But growing up, I had this feeling of, I know that there's something there, but I don't believe that a just God, a loving God, you know, would be someone that would try to control, a lot of the things that ultimately I believe are happening in organized religion. And, I think if you look at the history of our societies and religion in large part for many, many years has been used as a means of control, of ways to, control, scare, frighten people. And there's a lot of unknown when it comes to religion and spirituality. And for me, I struggled with this. And I went from this, like, I know there's something out there belief to becoming at some point even maybe a little bit more agnostic. I would say I never did. I've never been an atheist where I've believed that there was nothing out there, but I couldn't describe it. And I remember a few times even like bringing this up to different people in my family and being shunned for sure, talking about this. So it was just something that I never really brought up. And in my relationship with my husband, who may or may not be listening downstairs as I'm recording this, um, we have differing views as well. And, earlier in our relationship, I would say our views may have seemed more similar. Uh, but in large part, it was because I didn't feel comfortable talking. I would say occasionally, like, well, I believe there's a higher power, but I don't know what it is, and I would just kind of leave it at that. Um, and as I've come more and more into my own spirituality and, really had to look at that relationship with God, source, universe, myself, and what that means to me, it has become more of a sticking point of conversation thing. And it's been something that's been so close to me and has been the source of a lot of frustration and arguments with my husband. And not because of, he's asking me to not believe anything, but more so because I think he's scared that if I share things, certain things, about myself and or about my beliefs and feelings, and then they end up not being, not even my beliefs and feelings, but if I share things as truth and then they end up not being true, like how that could impact my credibility, impact my business, so, and there's valid points with that. But for a long time, I let that control, like all of these different things, other people's opinions about this control whether or not it was something that I spoke about. And I realized yesterday, I don't remember when we were talking about this and going back to this program, and PS, the reset, the first 2 weeks of this are completely free. And I'm just like so jazzed about this program. Um, as these women were all talking about their own relationships with religion and God, and one of them who had really, grown up in a very religious household, I don't, was it something about human design or something, or the transits or the full moon? Oh, it was something about like the full moon ritual and just like the word ritual and like what that meant to her growing up, and just, about her relationship with God and religion, and just, it was a brief discussion, but then some of the other ladies also chimed in about their own relationship with God and what they've had to figure out for themselves, to just kind of guide her a little bit more in that experience. And really, when it comes down to it, I think this is a very big thing for a lot of us a lot of female entrepreneurs, especially. And I don't want to exclude anybody who's not. That's weird. I don't know if you could see that on the screen, but my computer just like flashed. Um, I tend to center in on entrepreneurs just because that's most of who I work with. Most people are looking. I'm a success mentor. Um, and most people are looking to grow their businesses, and those who are in business tend to be the ones that will invest in themselves. But I don't think this is something that's exclusive. I think it's those who choose to go down this path of personal development and growth and really starting to unpack our relationship with ourselves, with success, and in large part, one of the biggest things that, bringing this full circle to businesses and success and, careers and achievement, one of the biggest things that I have found in coaching hundreds of people and working with so many people is that the biggest reason that most people don't have what they want, whether it's in most people that I want really, really thrive on wanting a certain life for themselves, and the money is a part of that, but it's not just focused on money. But I lost my train of thought. Love when that happens, don't you? Hold on. Okay, well, I paused for a second there, and now I totally lost the train of thought there. But ultimately, which is what happens when I'm really just tapped into my intuition. Oh, it was about expression, and this parallel with our relationship with God, source, universe. And I say it like that because a lot of people like don't know still what they believe, or some people have a very interesting relationship with the term God. I know that I have, and really being able to even say God, and that's in large part because of my relationship with my husband, and talking about that, because I felt like if I went too far and too deep into, my spirituality and these beliefs, that it would be something that would potentially, and express to that outwardly, it could impact my relationship with him, because we have those different beliefs. So for a long time, I didn't talk about it. I held things back. And it wasn't that I like wasn't believing the things, but I wasn't living them. I wasn't the embodiment of the things I was teaching, because I was on one hand talking about a lot of these things to clients and in sessions and such, but I wasn't talking about it outwardly, and I wasn't talking about these things with the people that I loved, because I was afraid of not being accepted, of being judged. And in business, one of the biggest things that stops people, and I talk mostly about women because I do believe that women have been oppressed for so long, and they do tend to deal with this more, but it really is for, I guess men could apply to as well. But when it comes down to it, our ability to express ourselves, our ability to, I don't even know if ability is the right word, but to speak unfiltered, to say and do the things that we stand for, that some might find controversial or they might not agree with. But those oftentimes are the things that make us most magnetic, not even necessarily always because of what we're saying, but more so because of the energy behind it. Because when someone is in their most authentic energy and expression, there's just nothing like it, and you can feel it. And I actually remember earlier this year, I was promoting a program and I was reaching out to people, which honestly had been something I hadn't really done a lot of for a couple of years now anymore. But I was reaching out to people, and I remember asking one of the women that I had reached out to, like, what interested you? Like, what piqued your interest about this program and this offer? And she said, honestly, it was your excitement and energy about it, and I just needed to hear about it. And you know, I would say that, I talk about this a lot with content as well, and messaging. And I've spent a lot of time over the last several years working with a lot of clients on messaging, and I can tell that they're holding back from sharing their truth, and really sharing the things that they really believe, the things that are really going to change their life and the lives of the people in their audiences, of their clients, etc. Because it comes back to the same thing with religion and, God and our relationship there, and this vulnerability of feeling like people won't accept us, people will judge us, people won't love us if we show up as all of us. And the thing is all of you is welcome. All of you is the thing that makes you magnetic. You in your power, you sharing your insights, your truth, letting your freak flag fly. That used to be something, a tagline of mine that I used a lot. That is what allows you to live the life you want. That's what allows you the freedom that you desire. It's not about a certain level of financial success. It's not about where you live or what you're doing, and like environment and, travel. And I think that these can actually be inherently like part of our core values of like what drives us. But when it comes down to it, none of those things matter, because you can have, and I have had myself, I've had the lifestyle, right? And I mean, I've been nomadic for, what year is it? 2025, like 5 years, which we've been a bit more settled now this year. This is the first year in 5 years that we have not traveled in, it's been like 9 months other than just locally here in Wisconsin. And before that, we were living in the Caribbean for a few years. So I've had that, and I've made more money in the last 5 years than, well, just in the last 5 years alone, I think I've made more than I made in my entire like 15-year career before that, which is insane to say out loud. Um, so I've had those things, but yet I was still striving for more. I was still trying, I was still forcing. And this is one of the biggest things. Maybe I'll have to do a series or something on this, but um, your lack of expression, you're holding back, whether it's about religion or anything else, so that you want to talk about. I'm talking about this, and this for me was a thing that I had been wanting to talk about more, that I was holding back from, because I was afraid of judgment from my husband, from my parents, if they happen to like catch one of my videos, random strangers on the internet, clients, because I have clients, I'll tell you, I have clients right now, like in my world, that I have Christian and different kinds of Christians, as well. I have Muslim, Hindu. I might even have some agnostic in there. So point being is like, this is something that for me felt very vulnerable to speak about, and I haven't spoken about. But our spirituality, our relationship with God, source, universe, whoever that is, um, to you, it really comes back to our relationship with us, because I do believe that we we are God. We are the divine. We are the spirit in the human body. The human body is the vessel, but really, like, all of us have that God within us, and the more that we connect to that part of ourselves, the more we tap into our power, our expression, the thing that helps to set us apart. And when it comes to your success in life, so whether that's a career, business, a relationship, anything else, because the lack of, like, holding back an expression has impacted my relationship, it has impacted my business, it has impacted my relationship with myself and with God. And again, feels very vulnerable to talk about, but I just wanted to express that, because so much of what is holding you back from everything that you desire is this feeling of, I can't be all of me, because if I am, I might be rejected. I might not make the money. It might not work. And this, again, I've made a lot of money, but I was still facing this. And this year alone, I truly believe this has been the calling for me, is to be really, truly vulnerable and honest about some of my own journey a little bit deeper. So I'm going to be doing more of these kinds of videos, and yeah, because that's what I want to talk about, instead of, always just focusing on things that sound good, but that I think honestly are overused. And even though I believe a lot of the things that a lot of people are there saying, it does come deeper. And my own experience with that is what sets me apart, is what makes me unique, just like I was saying about you. So uh, tune in for more. And if you liked this video, make sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you want to have more of these conversations, build more relationships, and collaborate, get to know others who have a similar desire and drive to really, really anchor into that authentic expression, please join me over inside my community, which is Unleashed and Authentically Expressed. We have conversations like this and all sorts of other things all the time. And we'll be hosting different events, giving you different opportunities to join things through that group. So join us over there, and we will talk to you all very, very soon. Bye-bye.